on the second line on page Beis. There's a point which I was holding back on, although we discussed the Ayin, so to speak, for the right moment. The Rebbe says that a nitzutz, a spark that separates from the avuka. There seems to be an emphasis on the fact that it separates.
The flame, huh? The flame.
Avuka is the flame. I explained avuka. There's a lahab. There are actually three different references here. There's the lahab, there's the avuka, the lahab, and the nitzutz. Avuka is the burning flame itself. The torch.
Uh-huh.
Not the torch, the fuel that's in the torch, but the torch as being the source of the flame. It constantly feeds the flame. Then there is the flame, which is an active fire. And then there is a spark that branches off from that flame.
So what's the avuka? It's not the actual stick. It's the.
No, of course not.
Yeah, the same. What was it in that in the lava? What was the distinction?
Fire burns. There are much of fire, tongues of fire that go out. That's the avuka. That's the lahab.
That's the extension.
Tongues of fire. It's connected to the essence of the fire, but and then the avuka is that shoots out these tongues.
In another mashal we were using a long time ago, would avuka be compared to the burning coals as opposed to the flame that comes out from the coal?
Right. That's exactly what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Avuka is the burning flame. The lahab is what is the fire that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Which the Rebbe points out. The nitzutz, the spark, is of the same make as the avuka, as the lahab. It's a spark from the lahab. The difference is that lahab is when it is still connected to the avuka. The nitzutz is where it is disconnected from the avuka. Disconnected from the lahab. Does not have that source, that resource. So the Rebbe says these words, that lahab ha'avuka is meir. That we have the words lahab, the flame of the avuka of the flame, the flame of the torch of the fire is meir. That has the nation that it is meir, that it illuminates. The nitzutz, which is of the same material as the lahab, as the fire, and it is not meir. Now this is a mashal from a physical phenomenon. We all know what a torch fire is. We know what a branching, what a tongue flame is, and we know what a spark is. A spark is also mayor in its own place. There's no way that there'll be a spark and you won't see it. It identifies itself very, very quickly, very clearly. Yet we say, that's not called mayor, like the lahab for our book. Somebody can find the right English word to distinguish between lahab and avuka, it would be much easier for us to. But we know at this point. So, in order to focus into this in some kind of a tangible manner, with a keli element manner, having a point of reference, I want to go back to the motion of the sun and the sunlight versus a light that comes from a fire. We always explained that the light that emanates from the sun is a completely different type of light than the one that emanates from a candle. We all sense this difference. Before I go on, I want to know that we should sense this difference. Once we sense this difference, then we are talking about something real. Then we can point a finger at what is it that we sense. One thing we sense in the difference between the candlelight and the sunlight is that the candlelight is constantly working to illuminate its surrounding. It's an active fire that's consuming fuel and constantly working to maintain its presence, to give up the light. Sunlight is something which is effortless. Sunlight emanates from the sun merely by the sun being there. I know we're all scientists, and we know what's going on in the combustion, so we'll get back to that. But this, at least, this is the way it's perceived. This is the light that it gives us. This is the light that we're benefiting from. But this is how it actually occurs is a separate issue. But the light and sunlight that we are benefiting, that we are using, that makes us feel that this is daytime. It's not an active light. Not a light as the result of labor. It's a transformative light. It's a light that has no opposition. Do I have you with me in this? Very important principle. It is the correct way to describe sunlight, daylight, is as follows. Candlelight, it illuminates its surrounding by the light traveling from the candle onto the object that it illuminates. In other words, it comes into its world and makes things visible within the quality, the domain of the world. On the world level, it is there. What does the domain of the world mean? But normally it's dark and you can't see things. Now within this darkness you could see things. It's a laborious fire light that overcomes the opposition of darkness. Sunlight, as you pointed out many times. The Torah says, "Vayomer Elokim yehi oyer vayehi oyer." Elokim said, "Let there be light," and there was light. In other words, what does light represent in that scenario? The godly command there should be light. It is not an emanation of any luminary. There's no natural phenomenon taking place in there. There's no series of events that results in light. It is the actual creation of light. See, this is a godly creation. That means that this has no opposition. It is there because as God wants it to be. This is why we say it's transformative. There was darkness, and there was light. God created darkness. This light that has no basis, but for the fact that God said there should be light, has no worldly presence. This light has subsequently been invested into the sun. When the sun was created, since a light of this type, that's what the Gemara says, a light of this type without a luminary would be completely perplexing to the world and would completely eliminate worldly principles. In order to have the light without causing the world to lose itself, there was a luminary provided for it. So we have a logical way of looking at this light. But in fact, when we are looking at this light, in this logical way, it's still a different kind of a light than a laborious light that coming from the candle.
So we're saying that there's light before the sun was created, and light after the sun was created is of the same nature.
Yeah. This light coming from the sun is not laboriously manufactured by the sun. The presence of the sun brings this light. Therefore, here's the point which I'd like you to understand. This light exists only in the presence of the sun. Because in fact, this is what this light represents, the presence of the sun. Let us think together for a moment. We have daylight. Daylight is, and there's a practical aspect in the daylight that we could see our way around. When we have candlelight, that also makes us able to see our way around. When we have daylight, that makes us able to see around. In our own experience, it's a completely different experience. The candlelight has this functional element that it makes us able to see around. daylight, the sunlight, says, what are you talking about here around? There's the sun. In the presence of the sun, there is no darkness. Here's the point. In other words, the light, the daylight, is not light that emanates from the sun and reaches the world. It is a light that announces the presence of the sun. But the presence of the sun, that is that which eliminates the darkness and makes it sun. This is what the Pasuk says. We mentioned many times. It's Hashemesh lememsheles b'Ayin. That Hashem created the Shemesh, the sun, lememsheles b'Ayin, to rule the day. What do you mean the Shemesh is ruling the day? Ruling means that it has the full jurisdiction. It doesn't have to deal with opposition. It belongs to it.
But didn't we say that the sun is also working like the light from the sun, like it hits the object and then the object hits the eye? Didn't we say that in the past?
Say again. What is your question?
Didn't we say in the past that the light from the sun also hits the object and the object hits the eye?
Yes, we said it, but we said it that this is the incorrect way of looking at it. This is the scientific, this is the way the scientists explain. Because they're not sensitive, they can't accept light per se. When they read the first Pasha in Chumash, when it says, they stand on their head and say, hey, this Torah doesn't know what it's talking about.
This right now this point that light exists only in the presence of the sun, and the light is announcing the presence of the sun. How did the sun become primary? It sounded like the light was primary and the sun was made as a kind of a keli so that the world could handle it. So
right.
Why not so why not the opposite? The sun is announcing the presence of the light. Why is the light telling us anything about the sun? The primary seems to be the light, yeah?
Okay. So let me listen. Can I defer this question to you?
Okay. Thank you. What could we say about this?
Right.
I guess maybe at a higher level this is how it works, but here on Earth light is announcing.
This is the camouflage.
Okay, so Hashemesh mamsheles b'Ayin. Truly light's ruling the day, but here on Earth we say the sun's ruling the day, yeah? Okay.
Because we have to have something tangible. We have to have something to refer to. What is the principle in this sunlight? Now we say, this is real light. The principle in it is that it is always connected to the source. Like we said, the light announces the presence of the sun. And as a matter of fact, if you think into it, in daylight, the sun has arisen. The sun is setting. We don't say light is arisen and light is setting. Sun is arisen, sun is setting. Because as a matter of fact, this is the experience, the essence of light. The transformative aspect of it. Not the laborious aspect of it. This light has that. This light has that. What?
He's
Yeah. I have difficulty to understand. If we're saying that when the light from the sun comes down, it becomes day, there's no opposition of Hoshech, and why isn't it so scientifically also?
What's again?
If we say that when we have the sun and the light from the sun it's like there's no opposition, there's no Hoshech at all now. So how come the scientists are?
Oh, how come the scientists?
the scientists what?
Why the scientists say no, that there is a combustion and that there is labor in producing this line and all that?
But we're also saying so. We're also saying that the sun hits the object and the object hits the eye. So we're not disagreeing with them on this. It's not. I'm trying to say why they're saying so. I'm trying to understand that if you look on how it works, the mechanics, it works as like they are saying. So
the mechanics is not what makes it, what actually represents the full truth of it. The reason for the mechanics, the Gemara says, the reason for the mechanics is only to allow the world to continue to exist in its limited natural status in the presence of light. That is the reason for the mechanics. Let me give you a correct example. It seems strange. Far. Oh, shucks. I have to finish it. A correct example for this. Think about this. There's a king in the country. Think of a king the way Chassidus and the Torah describes it. The king, by his presence, provides for all the life and all that's going on in the country. Both the positive and the negative, in the sense that punishment is due to the fact that the king orders punishment. Reward is due to the fact that the king orders reward. All comes from the king. Now, if there is reward, how does one get reward from the king? Does the king walk to him and give him this reward? Or does he have messengers, servants, ministers that administer this reward? Now, once there is punishment, how is this punishment administered? This is what we're saying in davening. There's malachim without number. All these malachim are representing Hashem's will exclusively. But ultimately, it is to the malachim that the performance occurs. The Gemara says that a blade of grass growing out of the ground, there's a malach that commands it, grow, grow, grow. Eimer legedal. The Gemara calls it a mazal. Eimer legedal. He tells him, grow, grow. In absolute reality, everything is representative of one principle, one truth: the presence of the king. In order that this presence of the king should be translated within the domain of the world, to give everything a presence, it has to go through the messengers that can relate to the world. Sir.
This was all. I think this was all answering the question. This with all the angels and the messengers and the king and his domain, and this is all to answer. How did we get into this?
We got into this because we were drawn into this.
Yeah.
Okay. The point which I'm trying to say is that the actual effect of the light, of the sunlight, is not the light that emanates from the sun, it is the sun itself. And then from that emanates, it is representative of the presence of sun. One second, I'm finished. So I won't lose focus. All of this is to explain these few words over here. The spark is of the same material as a flame. But it separates from the avuka. And therefore, Eine Meir, because it separates from the Eine Meir, it does not illuminate like the Lahab HaAvuka, like the tongues of fire of the avuka. What does that mean? The tongues of fire is the fire that illuminates. The fire is in the spark also. Why is the spark not Meir?
Not connected.
It's disconnected, but it's the same flame. Basically, the answer is that the Meir element is attributed back to the torch itself, so to speak, to the fire itself, rather than the emanating of flame. That's why when you're talking about the sun, what illuminates, what brings daylight, is not the light of the sun, but the sun itself. It is the light. But what is the power of the sun, of the light, is that it brings along the sun with it. And it says, yes, I'm only light, but I have a luminary behind me. And therefore this light, it really illuminates. Now that I said this, I know everyone is going to reflect in Mitzvah Shem, and I just want to point out, what is the meaning illuminating now mean? As I said, the spark also makes you able to see around it. What is the word that mean? Eine Meir. It's not make me lahab ha'avuka shem meir. We have to now retranslate the word meir in the sense that it's used over here. Meir means, let's step back for a second. In our normal conversation, illumination means that within the domain that I am in the world, I'm able to see one thing from the other. But the world domain remains what it is. There are many things, and each thing has to be identified individually. Like Shlomo says, the light has to shine upon an object, and that's how you see the object. This is seeing the object within the parameters of the world itself. This is not called meir. This meir is not any different than identifying object by touch. When you identify an object because you have been touched by it. In other words, what are you identifying? What are you identifying by touch? The effect that it has upon you, not the truth of the object itself. If you stumble upon a table or a chair or a bench or a wall, is there any difference? It is the fact that you stumbled on it is what identifies it. In light, the principle of light is that it brings you the reality behind all of this. Not only this is a table, this is a chair, and this is a wall, but what are they doing there? A chair is representing a chair in the Medrash. Not a chair, but a person who sits on the chair. The same thing is everything else. In other words, there's a reality, an overall reality that is brought forth through these objects. Whereas by touch, you don't see that. The principle of sight is that gives you the full impact, the full reality. This full reality does not come to you as a result of identifying of the light hitting an object. This is no different than touch. This full reality is telling you that there is a fundamental reality here. And you're looking at things from the perspective of what's the reality? Why is it here to begin with? What does it stand for?
That seems a function of Chokhmah rather than... Is that what
Chokhmah is light, is sight. This light is due to the avuko, to the source of light. Which means, like I said, the sun arises and it eliminates darkness, not because it fights with it. When you're talking about light, darkness is a sun. Sun is the essence of light itself. What does essence of light mean? That this light is an automatic light, not a laborious light that fights darkness. It transforms the entire reality. In the presence of the king, I'm jumping around, but to be aware, in the presence of the king, there are no ministers. In the presence of the king, there are no ministers. There are no ranks. Everything automatically occurs in conformity with the king's will, automatically. The king is that which illuminates and enlivens and brings spirit to everything. The very presence of the king, period. That does not exist in a spark. A spark can speak about itself, but cannot speak about the reality, because there's no reality to it. It doesn't have the avuka. It's not real. It's not a replenishable presence. So the word meir means transformative type of meir. Not meir in the darkness you should see. But meir means a true meir. Bringing the essence of light. Does make meir. All right. This will be it for this morning. I'm sorry we did not get to any further, but I needed to explain this. Have a great day.